How you going, guys? I know this is a bit off topic. It's nothing to do with hiking, but I felt really compelled to start writing this the other day, and I just want to put it out there, and hopefully it might help some people. A lot of people might think that I'm absolutely batshit crazy, but that's all good too. But yeah, I felt like God just really put it on my heart maybe a week ago, and I just started writing this out. But yeah, this story spans over about 5 years, so I've written it out as best as I can. I'm not the greatest speaker, so I've written some key points. I'll read it out, and if I can do a bit of commentary on the side just to fill in the gaps, I will. But yeah, this is my Jesus testimony, my reasons for believing, and yeah, here it goes. Alrighty, so I grew up in a non-Christian family, and as a young kid, I just remember I was around a lot of drinking and whatnot, which seems normal at the time. My mum and dad split up when I was about 5 years old, and I remember that that hurt me a bit. I remember my dad coming in to my bedroom one morning trying to sort of explain it to me, and yeah, it just broke me a little bit, but anyways, but yeah, when you're young, it's hard to wrap your head around it. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around why two people that love each other would want to split up. And as most kids do, you sort of start to think it had something to do with you, or yeah, all sorts of thoughts start running through your head and whatnot. But I still had a good childhood, like a pretty normal childhood. I still seen my dad, went and visited my dad, and yeah, but lived with my mum. But yeah, I was allowed. There was a lot of drinking. Yeah, but they did their best to give me everything I needed, and even when they were split up, so I wouldn't say I had a bad childhood or anything like that. But yeah, moving on. I was a pretty grade 1, grade 2, all the way up to grade 7. That I was a straight A student. I was very quiet, but yeah, very good at listening, doing school. Wasn't till I got to about age 12 where I first started drinking, and proper binge drinking, not just having a couple or anything, just absolutely just getting rotten. Then come smoking weed, and then ecstasy, and then methamphetamines, or any amphetamine we could get our hands on, really. That started to dive in. Right out through my teens, up into my 20s and 30s, I would cycle between these substances right up until about age 36, which was about 3 years ago. What have I written here? I had fun with my friends. Yeah, when I look back on this, I don't regret it, because I did have a lot of fun times with my friends and stuff like that. But I didn't realize it at the time, that I was just trying to fill this God-sized hole in me with, trying to make myself feel good with substances, and yeah, I had fun and stuff like that, but it's all well and good until it's not, and then it starts getting bad and turning on you, and you try to stop it, and it seems like it's impossible. So yeah, put me up to sitting at age 36. I just reached a point of suffering, drinking myself to death, and also doing methamphetamines. Just to warn you too, there's a lot of talk of drug use in that, which I'm not proud of, but this is my story. This is what happened until I got till now. So yeah, reached a point I was just drinking myself to death and doing meth, I'd sort of go in and out. I'd like drink flat out for a month or two, and then I wouldn't drink so much, but then I'd just be flat out on meth. But still working and keeping a roof over my family's head, which was somehow my way of justifying how I was living, just self-medicating to deal with just my depression that had, just built and built over the years, and just stuff from my childhood that I was just running from. And now this is where it gets pretty dark, so warning. One morning while everyone was asleep, my family was asleep, I was in my lounge room before work, and I was gonna shoot up meth, and I did. But at the time, I knew something was telling me to not do it, because I already felt very, very high, and that something was telling me I didn't need to have it anymore. But at this point, it just felt like I had no control over it. It was like I was just watching myself do it. Not good. So yeah, I ended up doing it, and just putting it in my arm, which led me into a cardiac arrest, which my heart was literally beating out of my chest. I watched it. It was the scariest thing I'd ever seen. It scared the absolute bejesus out of me. I thought my family was going to find me dead in my living room. So I don't know what caused me to do this or how I knew to do this, but for some reason it just come straight away. This is like in a split second. Like as soon as I seen like my heart coming out of my chest that far, I stumbled to the corner of my lounge room where I got down on my knees and begged. I didn't know who I was praying to. I just said, just let me live. I promise I'll do whatever. I'll just get rid of all this stuff. Just let me live. And I'd never been a believer in Jesus or God or anything like that before in my life. My mum throughout the years sort of told me a bit about it, but I was very rebellious towards it. Wasn't having a bar of it. But I know now that when I was begging for my life, I know that it was God that it was him that heard me, for sure. Moving on here. Yeah, like moments after I said that prayer and just pleaded for my life, I felt this like wave of calmness and warmth like I'd never felt before just wash over me. And within a few seconds, my heart went from, I would hate to think how fast it was going, but it just went from beating out through the roof to like back to baseline, just normal, like a normal steady heartbeat would. Which I'm sure most of you haven't done meth, but if you have done it before, you know that that's weird, because I'd been on it for days. So for my heart to just come to a regular, normal heartbeat is just like unheard of. That doesn't happen. And the other weird thing is I didn't feel like I was high on meth anymore. Like it had just been totally stripped from me. And that whole day when I was at work, I didn't feel high. I felt this other feeling that come over me, but it wasn't the drug high. Which the whole day I just knew something had changed. I just didn't know what it was. What have I wrote here? But being stubborn, like I am, I kept trying to rationalize what had happened that morning. just telling myself it was just a coincidence that I felt that strange, overwhelming feeling of like love that come over me, and then somehow after me doing meth for 3 days straight that I didn't feel high anymore, which was, yeah, ridiculous. And this is where it started getting really just weird for me. I really just started questioning my sanity. I've wrote here, funny things started happening after that. Though, in the coming weeks, I started seeing the number pattern 555 everywhere. And I mean literally everywhere. There was a couple of times I was going to school meth again because I was falling back into... Although in that moment, after that happened to me in the lounge room, I told myself I'm not doing it anymore because of how much it scared me of what happened. I started like just getting tempted again, and yeah, so there was a couple of times I was going to score again, and I would see the numbers 555 like on my dash, on the odometer, on the like the radio station, on a number plate, on a clock, anywhere, on my watches. And at the time, and I would see it, and then it'd be like a feeling would just wash over me, and I'd just turn the car around and go straight back home. Yeah, it's hard to explain. Another time, this one's a good one. Another time I was driving home from work and I was singing along to I See Fire by Ed Sheeran. I'd like to do a bit of karaoke in my car on the way home from work. And this other workie just sped up behind me, like erratically, overtook my car and like come straight like in the front of me. And I was tailing him, and I caught the number plate and it said LUK 316. And I'd never read the Bible before or anything like that, but the second I seen that, it was like I knew that it was something from the Bible. So anyways, I got home and I got on Google and I typed in like LUK 316, and then Luke 316 comes up. And it's one where John the Baptist says, I baptize you with water, but the one who's more powerful than I is coming. He will... I'm getting goosebumps all over me there. The one who is more powerful than I is coming. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. When I seen that, like my whole world was just getting flipped upside down. Like he was putting it right in my face. But even after these two accounts, I still tried to rationalize it. I was also oh yeah, this is where it gets even weirder. A couple of days after that, I was contacted by this guy. I cannot remember his name because I deleted his contact and just got rid of it because he freaked me out a lot. He contacted me through Facebook Messenger, and he somehow just knew a lot of stuff about my childhood, my past, my mum. I'd never heard of this guy before, never met him before in my life. And this is where I told him he was an absolute crackpot. Because he told me, when I said, I'm like, who are you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like going back and forth messaging this guy. And he told me he was a prophet of the Lord and that he needed to talk to me. And he told me I need to show God that I am serious, and he asked me to join an online ministry. I cannot remember what one it was. But I said to him that he was crazy and told myself that he must have somehow found the information about my childhood and my mum and that. He must have just somehow like been some kind of hacker or something and just, yeah, got all this info. I won't go into detail because it's quite personal stuff, which, yeah, so I just couldn't accept the fact that he could know them things, I just tried to rationalize them, like he must be a hacker or something. I'll just read this. I wrote this. God must have been getting so frustrated with me at this time. I can't believe how patient he was. I was such a dumbass. I see now I was almost like the Israelites in the desert. No matter how many times God would send signs, I kept denying him and walking away to serve myself. I look back now and realize how clear those signs were. In my defense, when you grow up being told this is all a fairy tale and conditioned to think God is non-existent, it's really hard to wrap your head around. But nevertheless, God kept chipping away at me. I don't know why, but I kept denying the fact that it was God working in my life, so I went down the New Age spirituality route, telling myself it was the universe speaking back to me and putting me on the right track. I don't know how I come to that conclusion. But it was weird, like all of a sudden, my Instagram feed and stuff like that, just all this New Age spirituality stuff just starts popping up on my feed. Never searched it before in my life. My algorithm just starts getting full of it. And I'm like reading this stuff, and like you read some of this stuff and it sort of does make sense, but it really throws you off the center God. It leads you down a track of serving yourself, not your creator. But at that stage, I'd quit drinking and I'd quit doing drugs, and I was feeling great. So yeah, I dove into like crystals and basic witchcraft. Nothing crazy, but nevertheless, it was witchcraft. I stayed sober for about a year. I've read here, I can see now how the devil was trying so hard to deceive me and send me down the wrong path. I'd found the New Age spirituality reality movement. I found it unfulfilling. Like it just, no matter how much I tried to get like this enlightenment out of it, I was always just looking for more and more. And like a few months into it, I had some pretty demonic experiences, which I just played off as nothing. Like I didn't really believe in that kind of stuff. Just played them off as coincidences. I've wrote here that I won't go into detail about those experiences, as I don't like to give these things the satisfaction of their deeds being retold. The way I see it is they are beneath my feet. And like God says, I have given you the authority to trample on snakes and scorpions. Meaning, I give you the authority over devils and demons. I started having sleep paralysis where I would feel a dark presence around me. I used to have these as a child. I will talk more about this down the track. And yeah, still there was just this massive hole I was trying to fill. No matter what I was trying to do, it just stayed there. I just felt empty, still felt empty as. And I didn't have like the drink or drugs there to like help me fill it, as I spent most of my life doing. So yeah, but moving on, after about a year, I convinced myself that it was a good idea to start having a couple of drinks again. I convinced myself that somehow, even though I was a full-blown alcoholic, like I've been off it for a year, so now I'll be able to control it. Like I'll be able to drink responsibly now. That didn't last very long at all. It would have been a couple of weeks after I did that I was just full-blown binge drinking again, just absolutely riding myself off, just feeling that God-sized hole again. Just absolutely obliterating myself almost every day. And I just totally removed God from the equation at this stage. And I wasn't getting any signs or any more of that feeling that I felt when God like first put that warmth on me. Everything was just totally gone. Like, I remember I'd say to my wife Sandy, I'm like, I just, like, that feeling that I had, it just feels like it's gone. And like I felt even more empty. But during this time, towards the end of like my drinking, where I was just like suffering again, all of a sudden these Christian videos start popping up on all my reels, like on my social media, which again, I never search these things, but all of a sudden my algorithm is just full of these Christian videos. And I'd be watching them when I'm like drunk, wasted out of my mind. But some of them would just like really speak to me, and like they'd get me in tears. And I'd just sit there just realizing, like, just looking at my can of drink or whatever I was drinking and just being like, what am I doing? Like, why can't I stop this? So eventually I still kept drinking, but I started praying. I'd pray to God and I'd just ask him, just give me the strength to just let go of this drink, like help me to stop, like, just drinking myself to death and sabotaging myself. And I'd just say that I was sorry, that at this point I realized that I just missed the mark. Like, he made it so clear to me at the start that it was him pulling me out of it, but I went that way, just a total other direction. So I'd just pray, I'd tell him I'm sorry and that. I remember the last night I drank, and that's probably going back 2.5. It's nearly been 3 years since I've had a drink now. I remember the last night I was just praying like hard, still drinking, drunk as, but praying. I just was begging God. I'm just like, give me another sign, just give me something so clear, and I'll drop the alcohol and I'll do my best this time around to follow you. So the next morning, I woke up, didn't feel too bad, a bit hungover as you do. And I took my daughter to the shopping centre up to the plaza, and we were walking through the shopping centre. And then all of a sudden, this massive wave of fear and anxiety just fell over my body. It felt like I was leaving my body, like I was just not there. To the point like I felt like I was gonna pass out. I had to sit down a bit, like me and the daughter. I was like, I was just so worried because she's in there with me, and I'm supposed to be taking care of her. So we sit down on this little bench, and I'm just trying to get my breath and that, and just got all these thoughts running through my head. I won't go into detail because they were just very dark, very, very dark. So we finally got back out to the car, and I just said to myself, I'm like, that's the sign I asked for. Like, I prayed that night. I said, give me something, send me a sign and I'll stop. So I took it as that was the sign. And at that point, I just felt so terrible that I'm supposed to be taking care of my little girl. And right now, in that moment, I was absolutely hopeless and realized that I was just being a terrible, selfish father. And that was the last time I drank. And I was so caught up in my own emotional depression and stress that I was just, I wasn't being a good dad. I thought I was. Like, I still played with my kids and stuff like that, but I spent a lot of time mostly just outside drinking, which is what I saw when I was growing up, when I was a kid. I'm not blaming anyone, but like that's sort of the way it happens. That like generational stuff just gets passed down and just keeps going. But yeah, that was the last time I drank, and that was about 2.5 years ago now. After that, slowly but surely, the signs, like God's signs, started appearing to me again, directing me in the right direction and letting me know that He's still with me, and He was always with me. I realized that He was sitting there the whole time, just waiting for me to give myself to Him. He stayed quiet that whole year and let my suffering just happen to bring me back to Him. And I'm very grateful. It's weird how He can use it, our own suffering, to like open our eyes and make us see. It's hard to accept because people are like, why does God allow suffering? But I think it all directs back to He gave us free will. And if He takes away free will, then there's no love. He lets us do what we want. He lets us make our own decisions. But yeah. Moving forward. Yeah, at this point, I guess this started happening probably about 3 months ago. And I was about to find out. My mum always used to tell me this, that the closer you get to God, the more the enemy, aka like the devil, will try to attack you. And I found that to be very, very true. So skipping back to when I was a child, I used to get these sleep paralysis dreams, and there would be this like dark figure would always appear and like do just, I'm not going to go into detail, but weird shit. And I would just like wake up, my eyes would be open, I couldn't move, and this thing would get on top of me, and it would literally feel like my insides were getting pulled out. This started happening to me when I was about 5 years old, and when it would happen quite frequently, like up until I was 10. Absolutely scared the shit out of me. And I was always real quiet as a kid, and that was why. Because I was walking around with that in my head all the time. Like I never spoke of it because it was too scary to speak about. But yeah, it'd feel like my insides were getting ripped out, and I'd just wake up in the absolute sweats and just screaming. And my mum would come in, or I'd stay at my grandma's. My grandma would come in, and they'd just be like blown away by the terror that was in my eyes. But anyways, lo and behold, at this stage when I'm getting fully trying to give myself to God now, I'm like, nah, I'm serious. Lo and behold, they start again in this very room, actually. The last time it happened, this is probably going back 3 months ago. I was having this really, really vivid dream, and my mum was in it. It was very quick. I was sitting somewhere, and I could see my mum in the distance, and then there was this other guy. Anyway, this guy pushed my mum onto the bed, like being like violent sort of thing. And 1 minute he was the guy, next minute he turns into this black mass of this thing that I used to see that used to haunt me in my sleep paralysis when I was a kid. And just as I'm about to yell out to my mum to warn her about it, this thing gets on top of me and felt like it just entered me, went into me. And I woke up straight away, same thing as a kid, absolute sweats, and just wasn't scared. I was just a bit bugged out. I was like, what's going on here? What's happening again? Like, after all these years. Anyways, moving on after that. In the next coming weeks after that, I just started not feeling good, like mentally at all. Like something had really shifted inside of me. I just couldn't get a good thought in my head. And I couldn't tell you what was going on. I kept dealing with it. Then like a week later, this is where it gets pretty funny. God works in mysterious ways, I tell you. One afternoon I was down at Coles doing some shopping, and there was this homeless guy at the entrance. And I seen that he had a Bible, and me being the person I am, I kneeled down to ask if he's okay and if he needed anything. Then he proceeds to explain that what he does is he asks for $1, and if you give him $1, he'll read you a Bible verse. And I can't recall what Bible verse he read me, like off by heart. This is going back 3 months ago now. But I did sit there and I listened to him, and I didn't have any cash on me, so I asked him if he wanted any food or anything like that. And he said, "Oh man, if you can just get me an iced coffee, that'd be great." So I said, "Yeah, no worries." So I walked back in the Coles, come back out and gave him his iced coffee, and he was just absolutely over the moon. And we continued to like talk a little bit more and whatnot, and then I asked him if he wanted me to bring him any blankets or stuff like that, because he told me a bit about his story. He was like kicked out of home and he was on parole and pretty much homeless. He was staying at somebody's house, but he didn't want to go back there because they'd bash him or something like that. And I feel pretty bad because I should have just offered him my house. I should have offered him my home, but nevertheless, I asked him if he wanted any blankets or pillows, and he said no, he's all good. Anyway, so we said goodbye. I shook his hand. I started walking away, and as I was walking away, he like yelled out. He's like, "Bro," and like I looked back, and he's like pointing at me like this, and he's like, "Believe, just believe." And I just waved back at him, and I was like, "Yeah, man, cool, bro." Yeah. Anyways, it didn't really click at the time, but I realize now that had to be God speaking through him, because he knew that I was being like a lukewarm Christian, like in the faith, and without even knowing it, like I was straying from him, and I still didn't truly like wholly believe. After all the signs God's given me, I still didn't. I don't know why. I'm just a stubborn person, I guess. But this is where the most miraculous experience of my life was about to unfold. Now a few days later, I was at home and I told my wife, Sandy, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just can't get a good thought in my head. And I had like dark thoughts, suicide. I just get thoughts of like that my family would be better off without me. Then I should just end myself, which was so weird because a few weeks before that, I felt absolutely on top of the world. Like on top of the world, I was like going on hikes and stuff like that, just having an absolute ball. So these feelings and these thoughts were just so out of the ordinary and just weird for them to be there. But again, like this started happening after I had that another sleep paralysis dream. Yeah. And yeah, it was that afternoon. I went to lay down in bed because I was just over trying to be awake and just having these thoughts running through my head. So I thought I'll try get a nap while I have a sleep. And sorry, I'm just going through the notes here. I apologize. Like, I'm not really good at like recalling everything off the top of my head. Anyway, so yeah, I laid down in bed, and every time I'd close my eyes, I would just see this weird demonic like imagery. Hard to explain. Just weird shit. Like, just like an ocean of like dead bodies all like swirling around each other by themselves and stuff like that. Not just horrible shit, man. Absolute horrible shit. Yeah, I'd never experienced anything like it. And I couldn't even get to sleep. Like, I was just unable to sleep. So, in like a fit of frustration and desperation, I decided to get up, and I went in to my little portable sauna. I've got like one of them little portable saunas with a little kettle thing. Just a single one. So I hopped in the sauna, and I just began to speak God's promises over me, like just reassuring myself that I'm full of the Holy Spirit, that Jesus dwells in me, that my Father dwells in me. And I just kept reciting that over and over in my head. I started to feel a bit more calmness like coming over me, but still, when I closed my eyes, I just kept seeing the dark imagery. So more frustration was just popping in. So I hopped out of my sauna, and I went to the grass, like just out in the front lawn here, and just sat down cross-legged, like trying to meditate. I had like some meditation music, guided stuff on my phone, trying to calm me. And I was listening to that, but it just wasn't doing anything. And it's like, something just told me to turn that off. Not like an audible voice or anything, just the feeling that come over me, just said, turn that crap off. It's not gonna work. That's not gonna help you. So, mind you, I'm sitting there, I've got my eyes closed, I'm just trying to meditate on God's word, trying to get rid of all this dark imagery that's happening. Anyway, as I got my eyes closed, I like began to see like with my eyes closed, mind you, this is not with my eyes open, so I'm not seeing this like visually like in real life. I seen like this weird demon looking thing. That's what it looked like. It looked like what you would call a demon. Just this weird, just disgusting, and it was like wrapped in like this weird vine. That's the only way I can explain it. It was like this weird vine. And there was just bodies and stuff everywhere. Not good. But in that moment, it just like a voice telling me to say this. And I didn't say it out loud, but I started saying it really, really loud in my head. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I must have said that like 3, maybe 5 times. I'm not too sure. But as I did that thing, just like a movie, just like started, it just fizzled out, like there was no screeching or screams or anything like that, but it just fizzled out and it like disappeared. I couldn't see it anymore. And then out of like this way, this massive light, like so bright, started coming out from like I've got my eyes closed and I'm on the ground. There's like this light coming in like this. After that, I'm getting absolute goosebumps all over me explaining this. So the light comes in. Then I see in the distance the cross in the distance. And Jesus is on it. And I see him get off the cross, gets off it, and he starts walking over to me. And this is where I've never felt a feeling like this before in my entire life, and I started crying uncontrollably on my front lawn, still with my eyes closed. I didn't see his face, but he walked straight up to me, and I was at his feet. And he said to me, he's just like, "It's okay, my son, you're safe, it's all good, you're safe." and I was just crying like I've never cried before. Like, if my neighbours were like looking into my front yard, all they would have seen is me like on my knees like this, crying and talking to myself. Absolutely would have thought, what's going on here? This guy's lost his marbles. But I sat there for a good minute, just like I didn't want the vision to go away. And I sort of realised now, maybe somehow I was able to see into the spirit. That's where I was seeing this take place. Like, that's how I was able to see what was causing these thoughts, what was afflicting me. But yeah, I never seen his face, but he was there, 100%. Swear on my life. And yeah, do I have any more notes out? I've got goosebumps all over me, man. But yeah, so that happened. I finally got up and I was just walking around the house in an absolute daze, like so happy. It felt like the weight of the world, like whatever that thing was doing to me, it was totally gone. I felt like myself again, like totally back to normal. Just felt on top of the world and just overwhelmed by the experience that he gave me. Like, his name is so powerful. And he's so good. He is so good. Yeah, anyway, so moving on. Man, every time I tell that story, I just get like lost in the clouds, eh? Like, if I could make myself go back there and experience it over and over, I would do it every day. But anyways, my wife was out at the time. She went shopping while all this happened. And she got back and she'd noticed that I'd like been crying, and she asked me if I was okay and stuff, and I was just like, come to the room, like, gotta tell you something. And I told her the story, and I just started crying like uncontrollably again, but with like happiness, happy tears. And I said to her, I'm like, he's real, babe. He's real. And she started to cry too. Like, my wife's never been a big believer, but like, she's really starting to see that there's something there now because of everything that's happened to me. And she could see how genuine I was being, and the emotion behind it was just like undeniable. Man, I'll cherish that moment for the rest of my life. The fact that he granted me, just an alcoholic, drug addict, sinner, serving myself, the fact that he stuck with me all them years and didn't forsake me, didn't leave me, just was waiting for me to stop being so stubborn. But yeah, and that's my story so far. Like, I'm all in 100% now. Took me 5 years. I wrestled with God for nearly 5 years before I fully gave myself to him. So yeah. But anyways, I hope this might help somebody if you're stuck in like addiction or whatever like that, or you know somebody. Like, I would just say, I know some people say, oh, God's not for everybody, but trust me, he's for everyone. And he's not just for sinners. He's not just for drug addicts. He's not just for alcoholics. He's not just for people in severe pain. He's literally for everyone. He's waiting for everyone. He's waiting for all of us. But if you're a non-believer, I would say the most powerful prayer that you could say is, God, I'm not sold on you. I don't believe in you. But if you prove yourself to me, if you show yourself and reveal yourself to me, I will follow you with all of my heart, mind, and soul. I will guarantee if you say that and you mean it in your heart, then he will show up and you will know what I'm feeling. All right. Well, that's my Jesus testimony. I love yous all. And yeah, I hope God just breathes on this and sends it far and wide to like maybe help some people. And yeah, God is real. He's good. He loves us all. See you guys.